What is up, guys? Back with another video. It has been quite the while since I've made a video, but I'm back and I'm here to talk about the college football playoff and their decision this Sunday, Selection Sunday, to leave Alabama out of the playoff. Now, if you know me, even remotely, you know I'm a diehard Alabama fan. Roll Tide Roll. So a lot of people have been asking me, Landon, what do you think about Alabama being left out of the playoffs? So I'm going to share my thoughts on that. And I can already hear the comments coming in before people have even watched the video. Oh, he's going to whine. He's going to complain. Well, a little bit. But you need to hear me out. I think my arguments are sound. I don't think I'm being irrational. I think I bring up great points, and I don't say I'm not biased because I don't believe in non-biased. Everyone's biased to a degree, but I try to keep my bias out of it as much as possible. So let's get into it. First of all, I get why Alabama was left out. It is Alabama's fault. Alabama should not have gone on the road to Oklahoma and dropped that game 24-3. That was an embarrassment. That was a disaster of a game. Oklahoma had almost their entire offense injured. I mean, several running backs, several wide receivers, and offensive linemen. They had a quarterback in Jackson Arnold who, yes, very talented. A highlight video of him is on the way as he's in the transfer portal, but he had been benched multiple times throughout the year. They didn't have a solid, consistent quarterback either. And you know what they did? They beat Alabama senseless. They ran the ball down Alabama's throat. And it was embarrassing. Not only that, but losing to Tennessee, which is understandable on a national stage from a national perspective. That's a quality loss, as they like to call it. And then losing to Vanderbilt, which Vanderbilt had a pretty decent team this year, of course, but you still don't lose to Vanderbilt. Especially because you lost to Vanderbilt in a lot of the same ways you lost to Oklahoma. Vanderbilt, their team's not special this year. I said they're better than usual. They got a solid squad, but they're not special. Diego Pavia is a good little quarterback. He's got a lot of heart in him. He's not Johnny Manziel like he thinks he is. He's not Tim Tebow. He's not Cam Newton. He's not one of these world beaters. And it wasn't even him. It was the running game. Vanderbilt ran it down Alabama's throat. And it was terrible. So, with that out of the way, Alabama does not deserve to get in. I get it. And people are going to be like, what do you mean, Landon? Alabama doesn't deserve to get in? Are you not an Alabama fan? Or it's not necessarily what I'm saying. I don't think Alabama deserved to get in last year. However, deserving is not the same thing as being better than the team. The playoff committee has over and over reiterated that it's not the four most deserving teams, which now it's 12, but it's the best teams, not the most deserving. So, is Alabama better than SMU? Clearly. I don't think many people argue this point. Let's look at the metrics, okay? In the AP poll, Alabama was ranked 11, SMU 12. In the coaches poll, Alabama 11, SMU 12. In simulated BCS rankings, so how the BCS would have ranked them, Alabama 11, SMU 12. Okay, but those are all rankings. Let's look at strength of record. Alabama 11, SMU 15. Okay, and then let's look at the ESPN FPI, Football Power Index, which is extremely controversial. It's not a traditional ranking system, but it is one of the most accurate in terms of predicting football games. Alabama 4, SMU 13. There is not a single criteria that SMU beats Alabama in other than pure amount of wins and losses, other than win-loss record. Alabama had a far superior strength of schedule. Far superior. SMU, I'm just going to be real with you, they played one real team all year long, and that was Clemson, and they got beat. Now, again, I want to say SMU was more deserving. Alabama had a bad year. They were inconsistent. They got beat by a bad Vanderbilt team, or a subpar Vanderbilt team, I'll say that, a mediocre Vanderbilt team, and a bad Oklahoma team. And not only, but they got slaughtered by that Oklahoma team. It was an embarrassment. And it's not only the fact they lost, it's the way they lost it. It wasn't a fluke. It wasn't a last-minute Hail Mary. It wasn't a comeback. It wasn't a kick six. It wasn't anything like that. Alabama just simply got their behind whooped. So I get it. And you don't want to punish SMU for losing this conference championship game. Again, I understand all of these things. And either way you go, it would have been a very bad outcome for the committee, a very controversial outcome. However, you cannot look at me in the face and tell me SMU's a better team than Alabama. SMU's more deserving, and if you think it should be the most deserving teams, you can tell me that. But if you think it truly should be the best teams, Alabama is a better team than SMU. I'm sorry to tell you, it's just the way it is. Now, that's the bulk of my complaining. Again, I'm not too mad. I'm not mad at the committee. I'm not, the committee, they're so stupid. They're so bad. I've said it so many times. Alabama doesn't deserve. They got their tail whooped by Oklahoma. They were inconsistent this year. But based on the committee's own rules of being the best teams, Alabama should have gotten in. But I'm not too mad at the committee. I get it. SMU is more deserving. But if you're going to put in the most deserving teams, say you're going to put in the most deserving teams and not the best teams. Now, this is clearly the first year of the 12-team playoff, and I think it has revealed some problems. Now, when I say this, people immediately jump, oh, you're only saying that because you're an Alabama fan, and your team got left out. Not necessarily. Am I a little salty that Alabama got left out? A little bit, obviously. However, I think there are some glaring flaws that if you're unbiasedly as possible looking at it, you can recognize there are flaws with this playoff system and they need to be changed. First of all, auto bids for conference championships are stupid. Auto buys are stupid. The ESPN figureheads, talking heads acknowledge this on broadcast. And auto bids are stupid as well. And you get this argument, well, we want to make conference championships mean something. They already mean something. They're called the rankings. You can jump up in the rankings for winning your conference championship. That is the benefit of a conference championship. So don't tell me, oh, well, if you get rid of auto bids, then winning your conference means nothing. No, winning your conference would significantly boost your odds to be in the top 12. And if you're still not in the top 12 with a conference championship, I'm sorry, you don't deserve to be there. If you got rid of this auto conference championship business, Alabama would have been in and SMU would have likely been in. You wouldn't have had a Clemson being the number 16 team sneaking into the college football playoff. You wouldn't have had an Arizona State being outside of the top 12 and getting an auto bye in the college football playoff. That's wrong. I'm sorry. It's stupid. And I hope Greg Sankey and the SEC and the Big Ten and the powers that be put pressure on the college football system and change this. Because it's just not a smart system. Also, I think I've finally come to the realization I don't like the committee. And what I mean by that is not their decisions necessarily, not the inner workings of it. I don't like it as a concept. I don't think that 13 old men and women should get in a room and be like, I think these are the teams because XYZ, and the committee's different every year and the criteria changes every year and they're never consistent. I don't like this all-powerful committee that we have. It's going to be controversial, but go back to the BCS system. A lot of people didn't like it, but I mean, I just think it's better than a committee. Now, I'm not necessarily saying go back to 1v2. Now, I think 12 teams is far too many. I think 8 teams probably would have been a perfect number. I think really a playoff system for college football, really you need all the undefeated teams, all the one-loss teams, and maybe 1 or 2 of just the absolute best 2-loss teams. And I think that incorporates 8 teams. I don't think you need 3-loss teams like Clemson sneaking in a college football playoff, or 3-loss teams like Alabama sneaking in a college football playoff. I think 8 would be a perfect number. But anyways, what I mean about the BCS is go back to a computer formula ranking. Take the bias out of it. The only bias that would go into it is deciding what formula to use. And frankly, I wouldn't be upset if it strictly went off strength of record. I'm tired of all this subjectivity, all this, what if the committee does this? What if they do this? You're telling me you don't benefit this and your opinions can be swayed? Take all the subjectivity out of it. Give me a formula. These are the top 12 teams. Say what you want, but this is how the formula worked. These are the top 12. I think that would be a far superior system to this committee that college football has established. The BCS was not perfect by any means. It was gotten rid of, but I think we could learn from it. I think we could use a formula, a calculation, a computer system like the BCS to calculate rankings again. And then also I want to touch on this because I've seen a lot of discourse on Twitter or X, if you want to call it that. Strength of schedule doesn't matter anymore. Alabama had a top 15 strength of schedule, and SMU's, I can't remember the number right now, I apologize, it was in the 60s, I do believe. The committee clearly made the distinction, strength of schedule does not matter. Alabama should cancel all their out-of-conference games. This is what Greg Byrne, the athletic director of Alabama, said after the game, and he got dragged for it. People clowned on him. They were like, Oklahoma and Vandy were in conference. How are you going to say you want less out-of-conference games? You lost in conference. You are deliberately missing the point. Canceling out-of-conference games, and the reason why people say that is because you are mitigating future risk. Why should Alabama go and play Ohio State or Notre Dame in 2026 and risk an extra loss when strength of schedule doesn't matter? I mean, Alabama could lose to a Georgia and a Tennessee and then also lose to Ohio State, and what strength of schedule doesn't matter. Eliminate that loss if win-loss record is the ultimate thing that matters. Do you get what Do you get what I'm saying? Because I have just seen a lot of people completely miss this point. Well, Oklahoma and Vandy were in conference. Why are you complaining about out of conference? That's just stupid. No, you're deliberately missing the point. It is about mitigating future risk. It is about the principle of strength of schedule not mattering to the committee. And then there's a whole thing I could get in with this narrative that Alabama doesn't play tough out of conference games, which has persisted for years, which is just a laughably just straight up wrong assessment, but that's neither here nor there. But that's my gripes with the playoff system. I like it expanding more than 4 teams. I think FSU getting left out last year was a travesty, even as an Alabama fan, who thinks Alabama is better and by the definition should have been let in over Florida State last year. It's still a travesty that Florida State can go undefeated in a Power 5 conference and get left out. I think more than 4 teams is more than acceptable. I think 8 would have been the perfect number. I'm not too mad at 12, but there's talks of going to 14 or 16. Absolutely not. That's way too much. You are devaluing the regular season. The importance of winning games is kind of what makes college football so special. The fact that every game in the regular season matters. It's not like MLB or NBA where you can lose double-digit games and still get in the playoffs, or the NFL where teams can go 7-9 and still get in the playoffs. No. And it's ruining what makes college football special. 12 is already kind of too many. 14 or 16 would be a travesty. This is college football, not college basketball. But those are my gripes with the system. In Landon's perfect system, there's 8 teams. They're decided by the BCS rankings. No auto bids for conference champions. I think that's a far superior system to what we have now, and I hope it changes in 2026 when the contract's up. If you're still here, thank you for listening to me gripe about the system, and hopefully you can actually hear my arguments, maybe critique them, maybe agree with them, I don't know. But at least hear me out instead of just saying, oh, he's mad because he's an Alabama fan. And I am a little mad because I'm an Alabama fan. But that's not the whole reason. If SMU, the situations were flipped and SMU was above Alabama in every category and Alabama still got in, this would still be bad. I'm sorry, I would still be complaining. Because it's not right. You get what I'm saying? But I've groaned and griped for too long already. Some videos are coming your way. I have several highlight videos in the chamber, locked and loaded, ready to go. The portal season is in full sway, and it is getting crazy. I'm going to drop some videos on my playoff predictions and my Heisman ballot, so stay tuned for those. And then after the bowl game, I'll announce what I think about DeBoer's first year. So, thank you for watching. Roll Tide and have a good one.